Boom. Covers halftime live Thursday night football. Indianapolis Colts, Denver Broncos. What in the blue hell are we watching unfold on our televisions right now? Denver 6, Indianapolis 3, and we're all losing years off of our life, struggling through this. I put in the YouTube chat, find me a worse game than this on primetime that we have had to endure in the last number of years. I threw out the Ian Book Saints game from a year ago on Monday night. That was against Miami. At least there was a really good bet that came from that the next week as the Dolphins set up to just get slaughtered by the Titans. I don't know what we're taking away from this one when it comes to potential bets next year, but my God, this is as bad as it gets as we see the under just getting pummeled right now. It opened 20.5. It's already 19. We're going to talk our way through this. Again, we'll try to make the most sense of it for another Broncos primetime game. That one against the Niners was coin flipping at its finest. We'll try to figure out something here. If you're joining us on the YouTube channel, there's a subscribe button down below. For just having to endure this halftime, hit subscribe and join the channel. We'll have much more meaningful content on much better games coming up for the entire Week 5 slate from the team here at Covers. But let's just talk about what we're seeing here. And about midway through the first quarter, I was like, okay, I'm going to take a stand and defend Matt Ryan. I can no longer really confidently do that, but I will sort of outline what's going on here. So when you're watching in the second half, you can at least have something you're looking at and try to sort of understand what's going on here. So let's start with the Colts offensive line. That to me is the big issue and the big story, and really what needs to be the focal point. I know Matt Ryan and his interceptions and his decision makings are going to get sort of beat up, but let's look at this, and we'll go to the pass one specifically. The wide receivers are doing nothing whatsoever to help Matt Ryan. So here's the next-gen stats that show the three main targets for Matt Ryan and their separation downfield. So Alec Pierce for the season is at 1.3 yards. In the receivers that register in this category that are tracked, he's the worst in the NFL. Michael Pittman, great receiver, 2.7 yards of separation. And then Kylan Granson, who Ryan tried to find with the pass that was interception brutally, 4.5 yards. All three of those guys are doing nothing downfield today. And as you watch them in this game, look at every pass that Matt Ryan tries to throw and just how close the nearest defender is to these receivers that he's targeting. The average in the NFL for separation per route run is right at 3 yards. And all of these guys are treading below that for the season, outside of Granson, who's so seldomly targeted, but he's finding space against soft zone coverages that Ryan's trying to find. But there's nothing there. So you have all these receivers who are doing nothing whatsoever downfield in their routes to give Ryan something to look for. And then we go to the offensive line. And again, this is the big story for the Colts. This has long been the focal point of this Colts team. Well, they got the good offensive line. They can make anything work. They can make the scheme work. Now they lose Ryan Kelly on top of this late in the second quarter. But coming into the game, this Colts offensive line, 26th in pass block win rate. The Broncos so far tonight are getting pressure on Matt Ryan, 54% of his dropbacks. And here's what's crazy. This blew my mind when I'm looking through the next gen stats. 3.3 seconds to throw for Matt Ryan. To put that in perspective, Daniel Jones for the season is at 3.07 seconds. So Matt Ryan, a third of a second longer per throw. You guys are seeing it too. You'll notice it in the second half. Ryan is taking a drop back. He's standing in the pocket. He's looking around with nowhere to go. And then he doesn't know what to do with it because there's guys in his face coming from all over. So you have a bad quarterback, you have a bad offensive line, and you have receivers doing nothing to help him. Well, what do you do as an offense? You go, okay, let's try run the ball. Well, you lose Jonathan Taylor, so that's not helping you. Tonight you have Jackson and Lindsey in the backfield. Let's run the football. Let's try and make something work. But it comes back to the issues with the offensive line. 71% run block win rate. That's 18th. That sounds okay, but here's the problem. The yards before contact for Indianapolis running backs this season, Jonathan Taylor, Naheem Hines, Lindsey, and Jackson now in this mix, 1.7 yards past the line of scrimmage is the average contact point for these running backs. So when you're watching in the second half, look at how little push this Colts offensive line is getting. Their first half rush yards with 48 yards on the ground, their expectancy 62. So they're 16 yards below expectation. It's 23% worse than what we're hoping that they should get based on the space that they have to maneuver. This is just bad on top of bad on top of bad. Nothing is working for the Colts. And we're in a situation now where we pull up the second half lines and we try to decipher, what are we going to bet? What are we going to look at? The Denver Broncos are a 2.5-point favorite. We've got the graphic reversed as we work through this, but the Broncos are a 2.5-point favorite at FanDuel. And the total here is all the way down to 19.5. And again, we're trying to mix these graphics in as we do it in real time. But we're looking at the Broncos, a 2.5-point favorite. They're leading 6-3. We're putting the adjusted full game line here at Broncos minus 5.5. We got to go Broncos minus 2.5. You can find 2 out there. This is as bad of a bet as you're ever going to find. But I'm looking at the Colts and saying the O-line just lost their best remaining offensive lineman. The quarterback can't find anyone downfield, as we see the graphic update. Can't find anyone downfield. The receivers are not getting open. They're not separating. The running backs can't get anything going on the ground because they get to the line of scrimmage and the defenders are right there. Now, keep in mind here, I see it in the chat, guys. The Denver Broncos are not a good football team either. This is not a team void of any issues on their own right. But we're dealing with just bad versus bad here. And in this situation, I'll go Denver at 2.5. You guys are going to be able to find 2s out there. We'll go 2.5 here for the stream. And again, put the adjusted price at 5.5. This is a bad bet all the way around. This is a bad game. The Colts are a bad football team. The Broncos are a bad football team. But we've got 30 more minutes to go, and we're going to try sweat through it. If there's a positive, maybe many of you are on the Lindsay over prop for the full game. We need 4 yards in the second half, so that could potentially look good. This is rough, guys. This is a bad game with a lot of bad. We'll go Broncos minus 2.5 for the second half. Appreciate everybody for stopping by. Try to enjoy the second half. This is going to be a grind. Broncos minus 2.5.